Sure.
We're celebrating new music and the Lords of Acid tour with the one and only Carla Harvey. Carla, talk about, getting the nod and the opportunity to join this, crazy bunch, man, coming from Belgium and, this European, electronic and edgy project. What is your history or love for Lords of Acid and how this tour came about?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been shy about saying that Lords of Acid was one of my favorite bands when I was a teenager. Again, I grew up in Detroit and like we didn't go to like club shows then really too much. We had a couple dance clubs we'd go to. There was one called City Club. I had a fake ID. I would sneak in and dance all night to bands like Lords of Acid. And back then it was just mind blowing. The music, the way that it made you feel, being out there, it was all new and it was all exciting. We didn't have social media, of course. We didn't have streaming. We didn't have any of that when I was a kid. So you would find music by going to your local record store and flipping through albums and CDs until you found a cover that you liked. And that was another thing that attracted me to Lords of Acid. The artwork on the cover of Voodoo You, the image on Lust, like it was like captivating to me. I was really drawn to it. And I find that a lot of bands that I fell in love with as a teenager, it was because I liked the artwork on the album, and the way that it fit together with the music was like really intoxicating. So, between the album covers and Dancing the Nights Away at City Club, I found Lords of Acid and just fell in love with the music. Like I said, the best way I can describe it, it was visceral. It made you want to move, made you want to dance, made you want to sing along. The lyrics were fun, tongue in cheek. And, there was nothing else like it on the radio at the time. Detroit, it's all very classic rock heavy on the radios back then. So, you've got your Ted Nugent and all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't as appealing to me as Lords of Acid was.
Yeah, well, like you say, the imagery, the kind of mystery, behind the
Yeah.
group. Obviously, there's a long history of various collaborators.
Mhm.
Who reached out to you, or how did it come about where they said, "Hey, we've got a tour coming up, and we want you to front it"?
So, like I said, I've always made it known that I love Lords of Acid. I have a presence on their social media. I'm always commenting. And so when they needed a new singer, I think a lot of the fans were like, you got to do this, Carla, you got to, and they kind of kept pushing my name around.
Wow, it is an incredible tour. You're hitting a lot of spots, including California. Of course, you're no newcomer to the road. What do you expect, and what can people hope for? Coming out to see a show.
I mean, I think that even if you haven't heard of Lords of Acid, maybe you've heard of me from my former projects, but you haven't heard of Lords of Acid, come to the show anyways. It's going to be a really really fun show, and we're gonna have a good time. The meet and greets are almost sold out, and so that's a good indication of people wanting to come and hang out with us and check out the show. I am a little nervous about doing shows with a band that I haven't met yet or rehearsed with, but we're gonna have a blast, and it's just gonna be a rock and roll good time.
Well, you talk about the imagery on their album covers, and again, as I introed you, you are a visual artist. You've been
Mhm.
involved in publishing comic books and
Yep.
art and all of that. San Diego Comic Con and Death and Other Dances, Soul Sucka. What is it about art and music that's so powerful for you?
Well, I mean, I think that, when I was a kid, I would write comics about my favorite songs, my favorite bands. It was just an escape. Both, drawing and listening to music were an escape from the mundane, an escape from the realities of my world. I came from a broken home. I was an angry kid. And then but I had music to escape to, and I had art. I could just draw all day and escape into this fantasy world. And nowadays kids have social media and they can doom scroll all day, but it was pretty magic to find the escape, with your own brain and your own hands and making something. And, coming from Detroit as well, it's cold and gray 8 months out of the year,
Yeah.
9 months out of the year. So having that ability to create art, make art, play music, draw a picture, draw a comic, it really, saves you if you can have that.
Well, Detroit was always a special place because that working class, the auto factories, coming up
Yeah.
and all that, a group like Alice Cooper, which pushed the boundaries of stage production and imagery and all that in the early 70s, had tried to do it out here in Hollywood, coming originally from Phoenix, but wasn't until they came up to Michigan and right in the gutter, with the Stooges and MC5 and all that, the Grandy Ballroom and the edginess of Michigan was not only important for the bands from there and that moved there, but you saw even powerful bands like from New York, like Kiss, breaking
Yeah.
there with Kiss Alive, and the Jay Giles band out of Boston breaking out of there. And so many bands were embraced by that working class
Well, so
audience.
many bands come from that working class background. You think about Birmingham, England, and the bands that came from there, and just it's the same. It's like industrial, blue collar, factory worker, dad, and you're looking for an escape from the mundaneness of this life. And if you can escape again with music or art, that's really powerful.